this argument has two parts, right? A premise and a conclusion. Did anyone notice that they are both if-then statements?
Yeah.
They both start with anyone. So you could diagram this piece of garbage. I mean, it's just two really long sentences, right? One thing that the LSAT does is that they will take subjects and they'll make them really bloated, and they make predicates really bloated. So at its core, though, there's just one idea that leads to another, and then the conclusion is another idea leads to another. So let's diagram this for the sake of having fun and answering the question, I guess. Anyone believing that no individual can have an effect on society's future will, as a result, feel too helpless to act to change society for the better. The one word that I'm going to focus on in here is believing, because when I diagram if-then statements, if it's about believing in something, then that's actually significant, because that's different from the thing actually happening, right? So I would say if you believe that no individual can have an effect on society's future, what letter can we use here?
H or F?
For F?
Feel.
Oh, that's the second part. I'm talking about what are we believing in? We're believing in
effect
E,
on
helpless.
society.
believe that helpless, E for effect. Okay, so believe in well, I want to say no effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to cross out the believe, so I'm going to go ahead and do no. So if you believe that you have no effect, sound good? Then what happens?
Add that for a long time.
Helpless.
You feel helpless. Now, I want to put the feel there too, because that's different from actually being helpless, right? You might feel helpless. What happens? You feel too helpless to act to change society for this. Sounds like they won't be very helpful, but that's different than actually being helpless. Thus, okay? For those of you who are just catching up with the class, thus is a conclusion indicator. Oh. Ryan, I see you taking notes on that. Oh yeah, thus. Okay. All right, anyone who wants to improve society should, and should is where the predicate begins, right? So anyone who wants to improve society, so if you want to improve, then what should happen? You should reject the belief. Well, reject the belief basically means that you should not believe, right? You should not believe that society's future will be determined entirely by vast historical forces that individuals are powerless to change. Some jerk just put a lot of words together.
It's like P for powerless.
P for powerless, right? And we could, now keep in mind this is believe, powerless. So we need to cross it out because you're rejecting that belief, right? Now, the thing about this is, as this stands, none of the conclusion has anything to do with any of the premise, right? But I don't think that's entirely true, because if you believe that you're powerless, or that individuals are powerless to change society, that's pretty much the same as believing that no individual can have an effect on society's future. Right? If you believe no individual can have an effect, that's the same as believing that individuals are powerless to change society. So, let's modify this to believe no. So we're going to cross that out. We're saying if you want to, what was this, improve society's future, then you should not believe that individuals are powerless. Right? This is believing that you don't have that individuals are powerless, and this is not believing that individuals are powerless. Right? It would have been better to use P, but too late now, huh? Oh, you go, Bijan?
Yeah, I didn't know what the end was.
Yeah, the end was no effect on society.
Or you just cross that out.
No effect?
If it isn't, never mind.
Oh, yes, I'll explain what you're asking. The original thing was believe and then effect, and then you say cross it out, right? I don't want to get confused. Am I crossing out the belief aspect, or am I crossing out the effect aspect? Because right now, notice what I'm doing. I'm crossing out this whole thing. I'm saying, don't believe in it.
Okay.
That's different than saying, believe in no effect.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful here. This variable is all about believing or not believing. So, okay. Now, now we have a connection. When I have an argument like this, in which I have one variable in the conclusion and I have another variable in the premises, I'm going to manipulate the premises so that it looks more like the conclusion. How could we manipulate the premises to make it look more like the conclusion? Contrapositive?
Contrapositive.
Thanks, Greg. At this point,
What, Ben?
I think
What you didn't appreciate?
I think that's a very good answer.
appreciate
Wouldn't
the
it be
contribution.
not FH?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, what's going on?
I'm nervous. Okay, so if you believe that individuals are useless, basically, then you'll feel helpless. If you don't feel helpless, then you don't have that belief. Cool? Now, what do you guys think? What's the assumption here? Can we fill it in? Dorm?
So if you want to improve the society, then you not F and H.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So if you want to improve society, then not FH. That would make the conclusion make sense, right? So this is a sufficient assumption? No, it's not actually. It's a strengthened question, but any answer choice that basically says this or something close to that will help the argument immensely. Answer choice D, no one. Remember, no turns into if, and then you negate the then clause. So this becomes, if you're someone who wants to improve society, then you should not accept any belief that makes him feel too helpless to act and change. In other words, if you want to improve society, then you better not do these things that will make you feel helpless, right? Because then you'll reject this, and that will prove this. It's a lot of words, but at its core, it's only 3 ideas. All right, questions about this one? Answer choices that we got stuck on that maybe we could get rid of even if we didn't know how to do this. What answers did we get stuck on? B. No one who rejects the belief that society's future will be determined by vast historical forces should believe that individuals cannot have an effect on it. One thing about this is it never brings in the people who want to improve society, right? So that aspect of the conclusion sort of remains unexplained. And here, this is almost, well, I see 2 problems with it. One is it's connecting this and this, which we sort of thought were pretty well connected anyways, so it's not strengthening the argument a whole lot. And it says should as opposed to do or will. The fact that these people should have this other belief doesn't mean that they actually will. I think this is confusing the should with the conclusion, which is talking about rejecting beliefs, as opposed to saying people who have this belief will also have this belief. That would be a much better answer choice. Saying that the people who have this belief should have this belief doesn't say whether they actually will or not. So it doesn't even connect these 2 beliefs that much. But we already felt like they were closely enough connected that we could just connect them. Any other answers that were tempting here? Okay.